He's ready. Anytime.
All right. Call to order. Poquoson City School Board meeting for December 21st, 2010. Ellie, would you start us off?
Chase Lynch will lead us in the pledge. He is an 8th grader at Poquoson Middle School and is the Builders Club president. His hobbies are homework, football, baseball, and wrestling. His goal for high school is to graduate, and his future aspirations include getting a job.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Poppy Crawshaw will give an inspirational reading entitled Firsts, which is a series of quotations selected by Poppy. She is an 8th grader at Poquoson Middle School, is a National Junior Honor Society president, and a member of the concert band. Her hobbies are basketball, soccer, Girl Scouts, and painting. Her goal for high school is to receive the highest award a Girl Scout can achieve, and her future aspirations include graduating from UVA and becoming a teacher.
Everything starts with a first. We wouldn't have nearly half the things we take for granted today if it weren't for the people that started it all. If Rosa Parks hadn't been as courageous as she was and took the first seat on the bus, we could be stuck in segregation. Or if Benjamin Franklin wasn't the first to think of the light bulb and electricity, this room could be lit by candles. I'm the 4th daughter in my family, the baby, the one to be taught by her sisters, the one to be loved unconditionally, and the one who will be left behind when my sisters go off to college. Next year is my first year at the high school, and my first day of school where there will only be one lunch bag on the counter when I come downstairs. As the baby of the family, I watched my oldest sister leave high school as I lost my first tooth. I remember all I wanted to do was be in her position, the eldest, and the first to do everything. I am here now and looking forward to the rest of the firsts in my life, starting with high school, and all the freedoms that come with it. The 8th grade has opened many doors, and the first door was high school sports. I was looking forward to my first tryouts for the Lady Islanders basketball team. After making the team for the first time, I looked forward to my first season. After the first conditioning practice, although exhausted and aching, I still couldn't wait for the first game. Balancing basketball, soccer, Girl Scouts, friends, and my first year in the top grade of the school, I was amazed I had enough time to sleep. Some days I was exhausted and felt on the go every second. As the soccer season came to the end, coming in first place in our division, I felt the real excitement for our first basketball game. Spending my first 2-hour practice in a stuffy gym felt too long. We practiced and practiced. I needed to learn the plays and wrote them at least 1,000,000 times, and then for the first time, I finally felt ready for the game. The gym looked different when I was actually playing and not watching my sister play. The butterflies in my stomach were fluttering, and the plays scattered my head. The first quarter buzzer rang throughout the gym, and the music blasted, but all I could hear was the thump of the ball on the newly finished floors. I was new to everything. This was my first game of basketball playing for Poquoson High School. When I was a 7th grader, I would see the 8th graders dress up for their games. Now I'm a role model, the 8th grader who plays on the JV basketball team. I absolutely love the family atmosphere that comes with a team. We still have many games ahead of us, and I never want the season to end. Every practice, a new goal is set, and every time that goal is achieved, I have a huge confidence boost. It felt as if I was the baby on the team as well, but after my first basket, and then my second, and then my third, I feel as if I can accomplish any first that comes my way.
Very good. Thank you, Chase and Poppy, for starting us off this evening. We'll move now into our student presentation. Recently, Poquoson Middle School's 7th grade English students published their own web pages using the online program Weebly. Students selected and researched a famous American inventor, immigrant, scientist, or entrepreneur using internet sources. This research project was an interdisciplinary lesson with the 7th grade social studies teachers and complemented their current units. Chandler Holcomb and Cameron Goodman, 2 English honor students of Jennifer Canella, will share their projects. Ashley Sproul and Kristen Costello, 2 of Leslie Harris's English students, will also present their pages. 7th grade science teacher Rick Bressman and math teacher Doris Horton are also representing 7th grade interdisciplinary lesson planning. This interdisciplinary lesson is ongoing. 7th grade science teachers will incorporate students' prior knowledge of immigration as they introduce human migration and immigrants to new lands, add to the genetic diversity of populations. Science and math teachers have also collaborated on the topics of genetics. Students have been introduced to the basic laws of genetics and heredity, and teachers have incorporated math concepts such as ratios, percents, and probability using Punnett squares and penny flipping labs. So students, if you'd share with us, please.
This quarter, we were responsible for creating a web page. In order to complete this web page, we utilized research and internet skills about an individual that would fall into one of the following categories: an inventor, scientist, entrepreneur, or an immigrant. The first step of our project was to complete a Foursquare. The Foursquare is a graphic organizer that helps to put writing ideas into topics and subtopics. Beneath each topic, the Foursquare organizer allows the writer to give examples and sentences. My website was on the Duryea brothers. The first quadrant was what was invented or introduced. The Duryea brothers introduced the first automobile and the first engine. The second was where did this happen? The first model made its first trial run in 1893. The third was when or how did this happen? And Charles Duryea was born in 1861, and his brother Frank Duryea was born in 1869. And the last is why was this significant? If the Duryea brothers hadn't introduced the automobile and the engine, you might have had to walk to this meeting.
This is the resources that we used during this project. We used several online websites from iSchool, the library. Personally, I used Wikipedia because I am a huge fan of Wikipedia. I found a lot of information, and it was the basic structure of my website. My webpage has a diverse structure. It starts with the personal life of Norman Borlaug and ends at the recognition. Borlaug was born in Cresco, Iowa, and he studied plant pathology. He developed a form of wheat that is resistant to most of the diseases and yields in high numbers. Borlaug received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970 and won the 2006 Congressional Gold Medal, and he also won the Presidential Award of Freedom in 1977.
Weebly is an online tool where you can make your own website. When you create your project, you can determine your pictures, paragraphs, and your layout. I'm going to be talking about different things, the tools that help you make your own website. Right here is the basic elements. You can drag your paragraph with title, or you can drag your paragraph with pictures. And you can use any other things. You can use design also. It's just a small connection. He was talking about the other elements, the pages, okay? Okay. If you want to make a new page, you would go to Pages. I would click it if it wouldn't slow. But, so you go to Pages. Whoa, okay. So say if I click this one, that would work. Okay, so like I said, you go to Pages and then you can click New Page, and then you can type in your title, and then you get a new page. So, yeah. Yeah, okay, it's all good.
I will be telling y'all how to make a picture page, putting pictures on the page.
Can't hear you. Can you talk a little bit louder and talk closer?
Me personally, like to use a paragraph with a picture. For that, you need to click on the sample image, choose a file, go to My Pictures, choose a picture, type in the title for that. To add a video, you want to click on YouTube, click on Multimedia, drag down a YouTube video, and your video will pop up here and you can watch it. For my person, I used Who, What, Where, When, and Why. His name was Ivan Berlin. He was a American composer. He wrote the songs for, most of the songs for White Christmas and Annie, Get Your Gun. In conclusion, this project was an interdisciplinary project. We studied immigration and social studies, the effects of genetics on immigration and science, and in math we studied probability.
Thank you. Our next item is additions and or modifications to the agenda. Do we have any this evening?
We do not.
All right, then we'll move into recognitions. And tonight we have the distinct privilege of recognizing our Poquoson Bulls state championship team. And we'll get started with that.
Well, I am certainly beyond excited to be able to do this evening, and we have a number of, obviously, players to recognize. But I'd first just like to, for anybody who in Poquoson who may have missed it, which I would find hard to believe, some highlights of the season. The Poquoson High School football team opened their season with a non-district game against the Dinwiddie Generals. Although the final score was 30-10, the Bulls proved to be a lot tougher than what the score indicated. In the next 3 weeks, the Bulls defeated Lafayette, Grafton, and York, and established themselves as a team to beat in the Bay Rivers District. Next up were the Bruton Panthers for homecoming week. Revenge was the word of the week, wanting to avenge a playoff loss to the Panthers during the 2009 season. The Bulls stifled Bruton, winning 40-0. It was never close. The defense held Bruton to 48 yards of offense on the night, while amassing 375 yards themselves. The Islanders established themselves as district champions with their final regular season win over Smithfield. The Islanders never were in doubt as they dispatched Nottoway and James Monroe to claim the Region 1 crown. The Islanders were now pitted against the highly touted Hanley Judges for the state semifinals at our home field. It was not a high-scoring game, but the Islanders prevailed in a 10-3 decision that would send them to the state championship game in Lynchburg. This created a matchup of two similar opposing forces. Poquoson's defense was only allowing 5.6 points per game against the Richlands Blue Tornado, who were averaging over 50 points per game. The much-anticipated high-scoring affair went into the half with Richlands ahead 3-2. After the Blue Tornado scored on a long pass to go ahead 10-2, the Bulls took over. They scored on 3 straight possessions to make the score 23-10. After Richlands closed the gap to 23-17, the Bulls gained 3 first downs to run out the clock. Defining the concept of teamwork, Poquoson won the first state football title on the 100th year anniversary of our school, and I think I can speak for the entire community in saying we're all incredibly proud of that feat. What I'd like to do now is to recognize all of our football players. I know that we have a few that are absent because some of them are playing on our basketball team and have some other activities, but hopefully I think we've got most of them here. So we'll go ahead and start with number 6, William Haskins.
Gotta get to the players.
Our coaches are coming in. We're going to recognize them at the end. But they're here to help us keep things organized as they've done all season.
Well, that's like a story to making.
Please join me in congratulating next, number 7, T. McConnell. Next, we'd like to congratulate Luke Hill. And next, Evan Lemon. Followed by number 12, Chase Pinder. And next, number 14, Dylan Kelly. Followed by number 16, John Britt. And next, number 20, Cody Hutchinson. I would like to just stop for a moment. Number 21, Austin Turner, as we all know, is not with us tonight. He's in the hospital, still recovering from injuries that he received at the game, and our thoughts continue to be with him, and we look very forward to recognizing him at our January meeting. So please know our thoughts are with you, Austin. And we do have another Austin next, number 22, Austin Smith. Followed by number 23, Derek Bloom. And next we have number 24, Russell Thornburg. Followed by number 25, Casey Allen. And next we have number 27, Tyler Felty. Followed by number 30, Hunter Jackson. And next we have number 32, William Emeny. And then number 33, Dylan Hill. Following Dylan is number 34, Jay Diggs. And next we have number 35, Dylan Dybel. Followed by number 40, Kevin Carafa. And next we have number 42, Kevin Flood. followed by number 43, Reese Thornburg. And next we have number 44, Thomas Garris. Followed by number 46, Jacob Adcock. And number 47, Grayson Boyce. Unable to be with us this evening. Next we have number 48, Rich Canella. And next we have number 49, Michael Roy. And then number 50, Brandon Kelly. Followed by number 51, Devin Kufro. Next we have number 52, Stephen Boyer. Followed by number 54, Baxter Bristow. And next we have number 55, Joseph Dowd. Sorry, Joseph. Unable to make it tonight. Next, number 57, Matthew Hornsby. And we have number 58, Jordan Kelly. Number 60, Dustin Edwards. And then number 64, Bryce Lynch. Next we have number 65, Nate Ray. And after Nate, we have number 67, Jake Keneally. Followed by number 68, Josh Forrest. And then we have number 71, Chris Cunningham. Followed by number 72, Ryan Bromwell. Next, we have number 73, Hunter Southall. Followed by number 74, Jesse Gauze. And next we have number 77, Tony Alsbrook. Followed by number 79, John Finch. And next we have number 81, Russ Porter. Next we have 82, Joshua Cunningham. He's followed by number 83, Taylor Stewart. And then we have number 85, Jake Mauld. And we have number 86, Michael Lutz. Followed by number 87, Matt Bundick. Next, we'd like to recognize our two managers. First, we have Ryan Patton, here, or Donovan Richardson. Okay. I now would like to recognize and ask the coaches just to maybe step forward if we can as I call you, and I'm hoping I don't miss anyone. Let me, of course, start with our head coach, Elliot Duty. Our assistants, Bill Ward. Jay Hicks. John Bell. Lester Pauls. Darren Smith. Justin Hollingsworth. Brian Helsel. Gene Inslee. Joe Rollins. J.T. Boyce. Trey Hardaway. I'm not sure if they're here or not, but so much goes into what our football team does. So I'd just like to recognize a few other people. Our strength and conditioning coach, Todd Forrest. Is he? I know on the sidelines at all the games and very involved with the team, our trainer, Jamie Meredith, and our assistant, Robin Brown. A very important part of football are our film crew, Russell Tracy and Jason Duty. Our stats person, Rob Rollins. And a very important part of our team mom, Liz West. On behalf of the school division, I once again congratulate all of you on this just incredible accomplishment, and you've brought so much pride not only to our school division but to our city as a whole, and certainly to do it on our 100th anniversary is just an incredible thing. So I thank you to all of the players and the coaches and all of you that played supporting roles for this amazing accomplishment, and I hope you relish in it for the next several months. And with that, I turn it back over to Mr. Smith.
At this time, we'll take a short intermission for the board and the fans to meet with the players, and we'll be back on the air shortly.
Former receiving line.
They started smelling and started eating as well.
Well, anybody in their right mind is going to argue that and say many more people want to know ahead of time, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we're still on. Okay, I'm good. We're still on your video.
Okay, let's get started back again. We'll start off with a presentation and reports, and our first one this evening is from Mr. Bowen for the financial update.
Well, we just have to wait for the technologies to start, so I'll go ahead and introduce Mr. Bowen this evening. He's going to talk on two topics, one of which is the governor's proposed budget amendments that came out on Friday. So do know he's got some information for you, but as you know, we have not had much time to gather all the information we need, but hopefully we'll be able to provide you a little bit so as we move into January, we have a sense of where we are. So with that, we'll let Mr. Bowen get started.
Okay. Chairman Diggs, school board members, and Dr. Parrish, I'd like to start off the finance update this evening with a bit of good news. You have before you this evening a copy of the audit report. I'm happy to say that that this was an unqualified opinion. This is the best opinion you can ask for. This is a combined report with the city and the school division. So as you flip through it, you'll see a lot of information about both organizations. I'd also like to say that there were no reported findings as a result of the audit. But if you wanted to look and just browse through, I would draw your attention to the compliance section at the very end, and it has some very nice things to say about both organizations. I'd like to stay on here and take credit for it, but this is really a report on the organization. There's a lot of functions that this audit touches, from operations and maintenance to grants to HR to payroll to our school activities. So there's a lot of people that do the right thing to make this audit report turn out the way it did, and that is an unqualified opinion. So I'd like to say congratulations to all the employees, the hardworking employees who are dedicated to doing the right thing here in Poquoson. So. As Dr. Parrish said, this past Friday, the governor released his budget amendments for fiscal year 2011 and 2012. Information and details are still coming forward, but with the information that we have thus far, we believe that our potential budgetary impact for the current fiscal year, and that's fiscal year 2011, is a loss of approximately $140,000. Now, there's several factors that are contributing to this. One is the change to the local composite index. Let me just talk about that for a second. If you recall last year, the local composite index for all organizations changed statewide. Our composite index went from 31% to a little over 35%. And what that means is that the state was going to give us less money. So what the state ended up doing in the final budget is that they gave us a hold harmless. They held us harmless on any additional loss as a result of that change in the local composite index. So what we've seen thus far is that there will be a change in that hold harmless amount that comes from the state this year. There's also been some changes in the sales tax and basic aid adjustment and other miscellaneous adjustments. I will say that this $140,000 is just a preliminary number thus far. We do have stimulus funds available. Once we know what our exact number is for FY11, we will be able to use those stimulus funds for those cuts. Now, as we move into FY12, our potential budgetary impact is a loss of approximately $900,000. Now, I'll draw your attention to the note at the bottom of the slide. This amount does not include potential increases in costs for PCPS. We just don't have that information at this time. So we're still working on those numbers, but the factors that contribute to this 900,000 loss include a continuing decline in student enrollment, a change in the local composite index, as I explained in the previous slide, that hold harmless clause, and also a change in the Virginia retirement system. Now, what I would like to do is just take a few moments and talk about the Virginia retirement system. This was one bit of information that the governor did provide additional detail on in his speech. Our current contribution rate to Virginia retirement system is 8.93%. This is a combined rate of the employer rate of 3.93% and an employee rate of 5%. Now, if you'll note at the bottom of the slide, the employee rate is currently paid by Poquoson City Public Schools. So that combined rate of 8.93% is currently paid by the school division. The employee is not contributing to their retirement. Now, what the governor is proposing doing is increasing the employer rate 3.23% for next year. And to help mitigate that increase for the school division, the governor is also proposing that the employee start to pay that 5% employee rate. As I have illustrated on this next table, next slide, you'll notice that the current VRS rate, employee rate, the employer is paying 5% and the employee is paying nothing. What the governor is proposing is to move that over to the employee so that the employer pays 0 and that the employee pays 5%. If this proposal is adopted, then the school division would be required to give the employees a 3% pay increase. Now, it's a minimum of 3% increase. It could be more, but it would be a minimum of 3%. So that 3% would be used by the employee to help mitigate their increase of 5%. And as I work down that table, as I explained on the previous slide, there is an employee rate increase of 3.23%. So the net effect on the school division would be 1.23%. In other words, the school division would have to pay an additional 1.23% into VRS if the governor's proposal were adopted. Now, as we look again at the employee rate, right now they're paying nothing, and the governor's proposing that they pay 5%. With that salary increase of 3%, the net effect on the employee is a negative 2%, which means that the employees would take home 2% less in pay. Just in closing, I want to stress that these are the governor's proposed budget amendments. The General Assembly has yet to start its work. That begins next month, and they'll each have their own version of the budget bills. So staff will continue to work on the details as they become available, and I expect by our January board meeting we'll have a more clear picture to present to you about the budget.
Board, any questions? Yes.
Do we have a date on when he'll make the decision on the VRS? Any idea when that's going to be?
There's no date. What will generally happen, the governor's come out with his budget. The General Assembly will work with the governor's budget, and they will tend to tweak his numbers. Now, we consider this generally the worst case scenario. So we're hopeful that trend will continue. So we won't see all of the cuts that we've presented this evening. We'll actually see a better picture by the time the General Assembly is done with their work.
If I could just jump in too, this is a short session for the General Assembly, so our hope is that, by March they may have completed their work. You don't know what will go on. It could be the session is lengthened, so it may not go quite as late as it did, for example, last year. And as Mr. Bowen said, we hope this is worst case scenario, but it could be what actually does occur. It really becomes now in the hands of our legislators. So.
The 5% shifted to the employee. I'm sorry. Yes, the employee. If that's part of a proposal and it passes, that's non-negotiable, right?
Well,
by school systems.
That is a proposal. Excuse me. That's a proposal that's being presented for school divisions. The school board would have to adopt that proposal.
Okay. So we would be able to take the suggestion from the governor and talk about it, discuss it. Okay.
Yes, but if this were to pass as it was, you would be held accountable for the full VRS rate increase then. Instead of the 1.23, it would be
3.23%.
3.23, right. Okay.
So it appears that the only option that we would have is to either take the 3.23% increase as a school division or shift the 5% to the employee and then use that 5% that we've freed up for ourselves to mitigate that 3.23% increase. And then again, we're required to give the employees a 3% raise. So there's some strings that come attached with the governor's proposal. So we have to, but that's the only proposal that we have at this point.
I will say that I do suspect that we're going to hear quite a bit of dialogue about the VRS proposal as it moves into the legislation, but we've talked about this over the past couple of years, that we knew that we were going to start to see some VRS proposals come forward, and this is one that we have seen. So, which is part of the reason we wanted to get as much information as we had to you now, because I suspect even recently in our local newspaper, there's quite a big story about pensions. So I think even over the next few weeks, you'll hear quite a bit of dialogue about the issue.
You did say the 3% increase was mandatory with the program.
It's mandatory as part of the governor's proposal, that's correct.
But we could go above that.
We could go above that. That's correct.
To offset that 5%.
Yes.
Worst case scenario.
The language was written, it's a minimum of 3%.
Okay.
Darren, do you have another question? Or?
I have some comments, but I'll hold them. Thank you.
Okay.
I think we need to see more.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, again, we don't have many of the details. We'll continue to work through this in January, but we wanted to give you a sense. $900,000 puts us close to, not that far from where we were last year. Just a reminder to the community, we cut $1.1 million coming into this year. We cut $1 million the year prior. So we're in the same ballpark if this were to be the adopted budget, and depending on what the board chose to do with VRS would have impact that $900,000 number. So I wish I could say that I was bringing happy news for the holidays, but clearly that is not the case.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Our next report is on operations update. Mr. Pappas.
Chairman Diggs, School Board, Dr. Parrish. In the area of custodial services, we are looking forward to this break to get into those classrooms and those school buildings and wax the floors and do all sorts of activities that we find somewhat more difficult to do when they're filled with engaged faculty, staff, and students. In the area of transportation, I'd just like to tell the listening audience we're currently looking for substitute drivers and bus aides. If anybody is interested in that position, which I think is a wonderful position, we are eagerly awaiting to hear from you. Please contact us in the school board office or look at our website for more information. We can help you. We'll even get you trained. In the area of food service, I'm sure many of you have heard that on December 13th, our federal government passed some changes to the Child Nutrition Act. We will be investigating the impact of that on our program as we deliver food and nutrition to our students. In the area of plant operations, with the recent snowfall, our custodial staff and maintenance staff were out there each day shoveling snow from sidewalks and roadways and entries to in anticipation of any change that Mother Nature may have thrown us. That concludes my operations report.
Mark. Mr. Pappas, did I see you driving a bus this morning?
I hope not. There was there is one of my bus drivers who has also represented Poquoson City Public Schools at the rodeo and done exceptionally well. Wears a tie.
That's what I saw.
And he has been, yes, I was there, and I was also doing 27 other things at the same time.
Driving the bus.
Thank you for those other 27 things.
No, that was Wayne Cross, and he warms the cockles of my heart. A man who wears a tie to drive a bus. He's one of the greatest bus drivers around, and I love having him and the rest of our drivers as well.
Thank you.
He's much thinner than me. I'm grateful for the missighting.
My pleasure.
Mr. Pappas, what sort of changes might they be to the menu, the nutritional items? Are they flavor enhancement?
Yeah, there's another 6 cents out there that the government is suggesting that we might be able to receive from them. And as usual, there'll be a host of activities that we must meet to get that 6 cents, and possibly some type of demographic. So we're not sure yet what it means, but it has to do with an additional 6 cents for every eligible student meal.
It also ties into some other things, as he alluded to, certification requirements for food service workers, which will lead to professional development and training. So we're going to have many new regulations we think that we're going to have to comply with. Also, I believe we may see some national setting of food lunch prices, which would be a new experience. So we're not sure what that would mean for us. As to where our costs are compared to how it would be set nationally. So it'll take a while for those regulations to come down now that the bill's been passed, but we do think it'll impact us, and it could have a budgetary impact for us as well.
Now, does Airmark cover that training, or would the board, the system, school system?
Airmark, if they are their employees, they would do that, but there's going to be a cost to them, which could lead to a cost for us ultimately too. So again, we don't have many details, but I did want to highlight that it's beyond, just menus. It really ties into some other fairly big issues for us.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Pappas.
Thank you.
All right, and last for presentation reports would be our instructional update, Dr. Revia.
Thank you, Chairman Diggs, school board members, and Dr. Parrish. As the machine warms up, I just wanted to say that it's my pleasure tonight to spend a few minutes talking about a program that we really haven't talked much about at our school board meetings. We try each month to bring you information related to reports that you are probably expecting to hear, like data and test scores and AP and that sort of thing. But we also try to capture instructional programs. So tonight, hopefully those of you at home and then here in the conference room, we have pictures. It's a montage of pictures of children in our school division performing. Tonight I want to highlight our music programs. And in fact, one of the children who presented for us tonight, Ashley, had to leave as soon as she presented so that she could get to the middle school choral concert tonight. Our music teachers in each of our schools are really providing diverse opportunities and exposure to music, and I thought it would be important for us to spend a few minutes talking about a program that oftentimes doesn't get as much press or play, but is so critically important to our children's well-being and their entire academic experience. At the primary school and elementary school, our music teachers work with our students as a part of their resource cycle each week, and so they are being exposed to music theory, different kinds of genres of music, as well as being given the opportunity to play a variety of instruments, like, for example, xylophones and also recorders. At the middle school, our students can take chorus and band. Thank you, Mr. Pappas, for adjusting the lights so that you could see the picture a little better. The music and the band for our middle school students, it starts in the 6th grade elective wheel, where the students can get a music exposure as well as taking band all 3 years of middle school. We also have drama at the middle school, and oftentimes in our choral and our band performances, it's not just the music, it's also a full-blown production, which does require more than just understanding music, but understanding movement and kinesthetic activities. At the high school, many folks are aware that we have a very, very robust program for our choral students as well as our band students. And on the slide that you are seeing, we actually have captured some pictures from each of our 4 schools. And you can actually see a picture on the screen just from last night's choral performance at the high school. So it's, I think, really an important part of our school division. It's something our community values to a great degree, that our students, not only are they given the opportunity to perform within our building and within our community, they also compete in a number of competitions throughout the school year. And much like we recognize our football team tonight as being a state award winner, we actually have a number of our music students who audition and are selected for regional and state choral and band events. And so tonight I just wanted to take a moment to express our appreciation for all that our music teachers do. I think they're just an example, again, of the talented and very committed and loyal teachers that we have in our school division, and commend the students that we have that participate, because they and their parents are really integrated into a facet of our educational program that's really fun, but also incredibly life impacting, because the students will appreciate music and probably participate in music for the rest of their life. So that concludes my report tonight, just trying to highlight our music programs, and hopefully you've enjoyed the slide that shows our students.
Thank you. Board, any questions, comments?
Yes, sir.
So since I've been on the board, we've had 2, I think, music events. They've been fantastic. So feel free to bring them on.
Yes, sir. I will certainly share that.
And Melly did a great job last night.
Thank you.
Yes, Melly was up at the choral concert.
My only comment would be buy band fruit.
They make great gifts for the holidays, right?
Yes, they do, especially the grapefruit.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Rabia.
Thank you.
This will move us into our next item, consent agenda. Mr. Smith, if you take us through that, please.
Tonight's consent agenda, we have approval of minutes of November regular meeting and work session enclosed, approval of financial reports enclosed, personnel action enclosed, authorization to dispose of surplus property enclosed, authorization to accept and expend funds for National Board Certified Teacher enclosed, authorization to accept and expend funds for the 2010 year audit enclosed. I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Would you please poll the board?
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Ms. Sidner?
Aye.
Mr. Bellamy?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Chairman Diggs?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Pat. Next, other matters for consideration. Dr. Parrish, would you take us through this, please?
Yes, certainly. What we are bringing forward to you tonight is consideration of approval of a one-time payment for a voluntary retirement incentive program. I think clearly from the news that we received this evening tied to the budget amendments being proposed by the governor, we can see why there's a need for this again this year. What we're bringing forward is a plan that would allow us to provide to staff who fall under the specifics of the plan to receive a one-time incentive payment that we would pay by the end of this year. The funding that you just approved as part of the consent calendar, which was some funding available at the completion of the year-end audit, would help to would cover the costs for this program. So we know now, based on that approval of consent, that we've got the funds to do this. What we would like to do then when we return in January is to provide information to our staff about this one-time incentive so that we could get from those who may be interested in taking in a commitment so that as we go to develop budget, we know ahead of time who may be taking it. As you remember, last year we brought this forward and you approved it for us, but we weren't able to do it until a little bit later in the year, which made it a little more challenging as we develop budget. So it is exactly the same program that you saw last year. We have not amended it, and we do have people who will be eligible for it, and At this point, what I'd just like to do is recommend that you approve the voluntary retirement incentive program.
Thank you. Board, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the one-time payment for voluntary retirement incentive program.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion or comments?
The number of employees eligible?
I believe we have 30 at this time.
Thank you.
Anything else?
One more question. I know this was a topic of city council meeting the other night as they approved the money to come back to us. Since that time, has there been any conversation amongst staff about this?
No, because I don't know, I don't, unless they watch the council meeting, and I'm not sure if on the council meeting they actually mentioned what the year-end fund was going to. I know they talked about it. Did they?
Yes.
So no, we have not heard anything about them, and we won't, because tomorrow is the last day. It's a half day with staff. We're not going to be able to get that information out to them. We'll do that when we send out the, in January, we always send out a request for people to let us know if they're intending on coming back next year. So this will be packaged with that information with the same due date. So we'll get all of that out. I am going to all of the faculties the second week of January to provide them the little information that we have on budget. So they'll receive the information you got tonight, and I will talk to them at that time too about this incentive program. So that they'll all know about it the second week of January if they're not watching this evening or don't hear about it some other way. So whether or not we did have quite a few people take advantage of it last year, so whether or not we see the same quantity of people take it remains to be seen. But at this point, when we're looking at maybe close to $1 million in cuts, any that we do receive may help us as we move to budget cutting this year.
Have we looked at the number of people that would be eligible in future years?
We would know, we could look, I don't have the numbers for you, but we actually have people on a spreadsheet all the way down. So yes, so we can look at, who's at year 30 is the mark, who's at 29, who's at 28. We actually have that.
Okay, great.
Any other questions, comments? If none, then would you please poll the board?
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Ms. Sidner? Aye. Mr. Bellamy?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Chairman Diggs?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
All right, next item is public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening?
We do not.
All right, thank you. We'll move right into communications. Dr. Parrish, start us off.
Yeah, I'd like to first start us off that I know that when Mr. Bowen presented the audit and recognized that it was really a group effort, but I do want to acknowledge his work, because to have the kind of findings that we had, an unqualified audit, he certainly leads the team. So I just wanted to publicly thank him for the work that he's done to lead our division to such a fine audit. And that really was a big piece of good news. It just got buried in the bad news from state revenue. So I wanted to go back to some good news. Another reminder, too, that our schools and offices will be closed December 23rd through January 3rd. We'll have a few people that will be working in and out of the offices, but they are closed to the public during the course of that time period. And I just want to acknowledge that I think tonight that what we've seen is certainly how we are continuing the excellence that is Poquoson City Public Schools, whether it was the great presentation from the middle school students that showed that we're doing some dynamic instructional things in the classroom, certainly our football team, acknowledgement of what our music programs are doing. Those are just a sampling of that tradition of excellence that I know we will continue to do. But I have to acknowledge, when we're looking at another year of very deep budget cuts, it's certainly a challenge to keep that level of excellence, but I know we're going to continue to do the best that we can with it. But even with some of this grim news, I really do hope that people go home, enjoy the winter break, enjoy the holidays, rest, and celebrate the successes, because that's what we need to do right now. So I want to thank everybody for all the hard work they've done thus far and wish them a very, very happy break. And the parents will have all their students back tomorrow afternoon. So.
Thank you. No.
Okay, interims were sent home at the high school this past Monday. The combined band and chorus concert was yesterday at Grafton High School. Mrs. Morrison helped with the Cookies Because We Care project, which collected 19,524 cookies in total from all the Poquoson City schools. Mrs. Morrison also raised $500 from 11th grade history classes for a Wounded Warrior project. The Guidance Department conducted a financial aid workshop for parents this month. Tomorrow, the high school band and chorus will present their holiday programs to the students. SCA sponsored a Toys for Tots program. And Holly-ball will be rescheduled for Saturday, January 22nd because of the snow day. We weren't able to have it. And Key Club has been involved in multiple fundraising programs this month, including the Salvation Army and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The 8th grade students put on their holiday musical on December 2nd, and the band held their holiday concert on December 9th. The chorus holiday concert is being held tonight at 7 p.m. because of the snow days last week. And students and faculty also participated in the Cookies Because We Care campaign, and they participated in a school-wide non-perishable food and toys drive. At the elementary school, the students have been participating in a canned food drive, and they also participated in the Cookies Because We Care campaign. The 5th grade will be putting on a play January 11th and January 12th at 9:15 in the morning and 7 in the evening, both days. And tomorrow is an early dismissal, and they will be let out at 11:40. At the primary school, the kindergarten had their Polar Express Day today. The 1st grade studied the different holiday customs from around the world and dressed up as St. Lucia to fill wooden shoes with candy and discuss the Yule log. The whole school raised $1,400 for Toys for Tots. The students will get out at 12:15 for an early dismissal tomorrow to begin their winter break, and will return on January 3rd refreshed and ready to go.
Thank you.
It's already hard to go on. She said the things I was going to say. She said some things.
Sorry.
Okay, so I want to thank all teachers and staff for their efforts that they make on a daily basis for our students. And I wish for them the same thing Dr. Parrish said, that I had written down, a well-deserved break for all our students too. Thank you.
Ms. Feltman held the Special Education Advisory Committee on the 9th of December, and they had fair attendance, and they had Randy Jennings, who works with Goodwill, there to speak to the parents and the staff, and that was really appreciative. The next SEAC meeting is going to be scheduled for Thursday, February 17th, and there's going to be a presentation by Dr. Ken Westcott, a developmental optometrist in Chesapeake, so people are welcome to come out and attend that meeting. Boy, lots to say. I'll keep it short. I applaud the superintendent and Mr. Pappas for making the gutsy call Wednesday evening to cancel school. Forecasting weather around here is difficult for the experts, but you guys made the right call. I appreciate it. I think you were taking into consideration the working parents who had to find child care, and it's much easier to do that given 12 hours notice than it is given 1 hour notice. And so I appreciate you guys making the right decision there. So thanks a lot. Congratulations to the football team. I want to point out, last night I was at the choral concert, and it was a band choral concert combined. Melly, you guys did a great job. Thank you. And but Mr. Sproul acknowledged the championship football team. But a couple of things that he also said just made it stand out and made it a little just that much sweeter. He made the comment that it was very, very rare, if ever, that we saw any type of poor sportsmanship from those boys. And so you won the state championship with dignity and humility and good sportsmanship, and that carries an awful lot of weight with the people who cheered you on throughout the season. He also made mention that the coaches made it a point to come over and tell him how much they appreciated the band's support throughout the season and how much it meant to them to have the band there. And so it was very well received by Mr. Sproul. I know that the band appreciated that. So congratulations again, boys. And I hope everybody has a great, safe holiday.
I was very impressed with the student presentation tonight, the interdisciplinary research project. It seems to be rather advanced for 7th graders doing that type of research, taking in many subjects at the same time, and including website development. So I think we truly are producing some leaders for the future. Thank you to all the band parents that worked with concessions and the pit crew for their support. Actually, everyone who worked the football games. There were quite a few extra games, and it takes a lot of parental support and support from our community, so thanks for everyone for the extra work. Great choral concert last night and band concert, and I think that was a real testimony to our students' capabilities, because they went a little short on some rehearsal time in the last couple of weeks, particularly the band. But I wish everyone a safe and happy holidays and everyone come back intact.
Robin.
On December 14th, I attended with Dr. Parrish the WHO Educational Advisory Committee meeting, and as soon as I receive material, I will send that out to you guys. But as a note, I did forward an email that top on the governor's budget cuts was public broadcasting. So WHRO is, of course, very concerned about that. And I'll keep you guys updated as to what that might mean as far as services from them that we use. And I hope everybody has a very relaxing break.
Mark?
Thank you. Football team, all I can say is wow. Followed them this season and really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I've been to professional sports events, and I have to say, head and shoulders above. I mean, it was even better than seeing the Cowboys get beat. I'm sorry, Mr. Bowen. I had to do that. But no, I was just kidding with you, okay? So, great accomplishment. And in the football vein there, Dr. Parrish, if you decide to change careers, you might be able to do an ESPN halftime with that reading you gave us during all the announcements there. So maybe
I have to admit I had a little help.
It was fantastic. Enjoyed it. Last meeting, I chose not to make any comments. Mr. Johnson had been here. And I wanted to say something about him, but I felt like what I would have to say at that moment would get lost in the fray. And in my brief time on that board, I've been very impressed with what they're doing out there and the difference they're making in not only our community, but the entire peninsula. And he works very diligently with Dr. Parrish, Dr. Revia, to come up with great programs for our children and young people, and I just can't say enough about what's going on out there. It's a fantastic opportunity for all our young people. The other thing I wanted to point out tonight was to follow up with Mr. Melton's comment about the technology. What the public may not realize is that on the consent calendar was a replacement of several computers. And you really realize tonight, when they put on a program like that, how important it is to those children to get to see that. And it's really incredible what they can do at this point in time. They're very impressive. So I'm very happy to see that continue. And I thank you all for making that happen. Other than that, best wishes for a new year, and that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
I'd like to thank Charlie French for the extra bleachers at our playoff games. It was a big help to all the fans and everything we had out there. They didn't have to stand all around the fences. I'd also like to congratulate Coach Duty and his staff and the players, and how appropriate to win the first state title on the 100th anniversary of the high school. Something will never be forgotten. And you look at the team, and normally you have a couple of outstanding players on a team. And this team, they're all so high and so level and balanced on both sides. It's just unreal. You just don't see that in high school. You don't see that in most sports where you have such balance. But they've done an outstanding job. I think Henry Ayer and George Yeager did a great job announcing the game. I was home listening to it, and they kept it interesting all the way through. The two of them, you'd think they worked together for years. Poppy Crawshaw, I think her reading, taking everyday life and putting it into something like that is really exceptional. To have that talent, sit down and do that in the middle school is just wonderful. Mr. Bowen, on your financial reports, I like the minus 140,000. The 900 really worried me. But I know we'll get a lot of new stuff out of that as that goes. I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thank everybody in the school system for what you do all year. Thank you.
Thank you. Guess I'd like just to echo what most of the board has said. It's we're coming to the end of a calendar year. We're midway through the school year. It's very interesting to me to see as we get into an area like this where you see the support from our students. 19,000 cookies collected and $1,400 from the from primary school to be given away. It's just another example of what this community is always teaching our kids about supporting those others that need the support. And I just, we have excellent academics. We've seen tonight our athletics and our extracurricular activities of music and technology, and these other things are feeding into our students. But then you also see character building opportunities like this, producing cookies and toys for others. That's just another great example of what our community as a whole and our teachers that are working with our kids are paying into our students. And just want to thank them for that, their hard work and their dedication. We can't say it enough. I know it's a resounding thank you coming each month as we meet, and that's not nearly enough to what our teachers and staff deserve. So with that, I'll close out and just wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the time off with your family and friends. It really makes this time of the year special when you can get together with those that you don't necessarily get to see and spend some quality time. Our lives are so hectic, so enjoy that time. And with that, we will be moving into a work session. We have 2 items on our work session. We have a program of studies and a capital improvement project, and then we'll be moving into a closed meeting to discuss personnel matters. And with that, we're adjourned.